Welcome to Sultai Vengevine. I hope you're excited for some Hedron Crab Tribal. That's the name of the game. But yeah, Vengevine's been doing good. Dredge has been doing good in Modern recently, so I figured I'd kind of sleeve up my Sultai Vengevine deck, kind of update it to some of these new sets that have released. Now, if you're not familiar with Vengevine, let's start off with Vengevine. So whenever you cast a spell, if it's the second creature spell that you've cast this turn, and we return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. Now, this is just like any of your graveyard decks. The main way that we're looking to get Vengevine into the graveyard is going to be through things like Glimpse the Unthinkable and Breaking and Entering. That's going to be one of the key ways to really kind of kickstart our graveyard. After that, we're looking to get down something like Hedron Crab, start making a lot of our land drops. We're running a ton of fetch lands in here, so let's say that we do get down Hedron Crab on turn 1. We play our fetch land turn 2, that's going to be 3 cards in the graveyard, crack the fetch land in response to that trigger. Have that land enter the battlefield. That's another 3 cards in the graveyard. So basically, for every fetch land with Hedron Crab on the battlefield, that's going to be 6 cards in your graveyard, which is going to make Vengevine very happy and make us very happy too, because we like to have a full graveyard. Outside of the ways of kind of self-milling the library, this is almost kind of like a zombie tribal deck in a way, not necessarily tribal. One of the main ways we could bring Vengevine back once we have that graveyard kick-started is through things like Gravecrawler. So Gravecrawler, if you're not familiar, it's a 1-drop zombie. You may cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. So if we have Gravecrawler in our hand, or let's say that we mill into Gravecrawler into the graveyard and we have something like Stitcher Supplier in our hand, once we have Gravecrawler in the graveyard, that really allows us to, basically it's just 2 mana for us to bring back all these Vengevines out of the graveyard. And with the introduction of Creeping Chill, this really helps this deck propel itself into having some really explosive turn 2s and turn 3s. Why Wizards decided to print in a Lightning Helix for Dredge, I don't know, but I love it. It makes me happy. But yeah, so outside of the Vengevine, I saw that printed. I was like, what? I was like, okay, I'm going to jam that into Sultai Vengevine before something happens to it. But yeah, so outside of the Vengevine, it's still in shock every time I go for a Creeping Chill and they lose 3 and we gain 3, which is just... I love it. But yeah, outside of the Vengevine and the zombie aspect, we do have Narcomoebas in here. That's going to work well with Bloodghast and Prized Amalgam. So basically, you're kind of trying to hit your opponent on 2 different fronts. We're going for that Vengevine attack. Then if we can't hit a bunch of Vengevines, we're looking to hopefully hit a Bloodghast or a Narcomoeba to start bringing back a bunch of Prized Amalgams. And then using those Bloodghasts, once our opponent gets below 10 life, we can use those Bloodghasts to really kind of start attacking our opponent's life total. They have haste, and that's really going to help us kind of go from there. Now, as far as the sideboard goes, this is really open depending upon your meta. You are playing Dredge, so you really want to have just kind of like 4 ofs and 3 ofs mainly in your sideboard, because you don't really want to dilute the power of your graveyard activity. When I run a graveyard deck, I like to run Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle is one of those cards that we can get it down. We can name Nile Spellbomb. We can name Relic of Progenitus. That's a really good way for us to kind of just turn 1, get that down, jam up their graveyard protection. That's going to allow us to really start working on our graveyard and kind of go from there. I am running 3 copies of Stubborn Denial, just because typically Stubborn Denial is going to be online as quick as turn 2, as soon as we get those Vengevines on the battlefield. So it's going to help you kind of stop whatever your opponent wants to get going. Of course, Assassin's Trophy, this is a wonderful card for the deck. We can target Rest in Peace, we can target Relic of Progenitus. If we're playing against Tron, we can target their lands. Basically, it's going to take the spot of Nature's Claim, which used to be in the sideboard. Now, 4 copies of Leyline of the Void. If you run into the Dredge matchup, you want to make sure that you have your very own graveyard where you can do your own busted things. And also running 2 copies of Trickbind. Trickbind, I love this card. This is one of my favorite cards in Modern. I feel like it's underplayed. You can use it to kind of stop a Rest in Peace trigger. It doesn't really deal with the actual problem itself, but it will at least protect your graveyard in late game situations. You can also use it to kind of stop an Expedition Map activation for Tron. There's just a lot of things that you can use Trickbind for, and I actually love going for that. Let's say they crack a Relic of Progenitus, you don't find Pithing Needle, you can Trickbind that activation, you're good to go. So, but that's going to be it for the deck. Basically it's just milling a bunch of stuff into the graveyard, casting a couple 1-drop zombies, bring back the Vengevines, bring back the Prized Amalgams, and then hit some Creeping Chills. This deck, it's one of those decks that it's kind of like a collected company deck. You're kind of playing a random number generator for the most part. So you'll have some turns where we get down Hedron Crab on turn 1. Turn 2, I drew into Hedron Crab one time. It's not in this video, but it's playtesting. I drew into another Hedron Crab. So we end up with around 12 cards in the graveyard on turn 2. Then we cast a 1-drop zombie. We end up with 2 Vengevines on the battlefield. We hit 3 Creeping Chills. So this deck can be really explosive, but there's also going to be times where you just kind of whiff on stuff. So that's kind of the nature of the game with this particular deck. But going for Glimpse the Unthinkable and breaking and entering to really kick your graveyard is just a wonderful feeling. But anyway, let's head it over to the gameplay. All right, bye. Welcome to Sultai Vengevine. So I was opening hand goes, we have Gravecrawler and Glimpse the Unthinkable and Life from the Loam. So this is, yeah, this is wonderful. The only thing that could make this better is if we were on the play, or if we had something like Collective Brutality to dump Vengevine into the graveyard, but I will definitely keep on this. All right, so it looks like we're playing against Tron. If, maybe it's not Tron. Maybe they're just like some sort of Grixis deck that just has Power Plant in there for some reason to bluff us. But if I'm a betting person, I'd bet it's probably Tron. Let's go ahead and get down to Catacombs. Yeah, we're going to hold on to Gravecrawler, and let's just go ahead and pass this turn to our opponent. Don't really want to get off to a super crazy start sometimes. When you are playing Sultai Vengevine, the way I like to play this deck, and it kind of depends on your play style too, is I like to kind of just save it for one big swing. And so definitely want to hold on to Gravecrawler and see if we can't hit another zombie off of this Glimpse the Unthinkable out of the graveyard. So let's go and crack Catacombs. Let's go and get down a black-blue source. Let's go and grab Watery Grave. Have that come into play tapped. Not going to pay 2 life. And then we'll kick it back over to our turn. Then go for Glimpse the Unthinkable. And hopefully we don't get Karned. We're looking at pretty quick natural Tron for our opponent. So let's go and go for Glimpse the Unthinkable, and let's see what's going to happen once it hits our graveyard. And if we get any sort of spread, the only downside is we'll be looking at some, probably some good Relic of Progenitus Hate from our opponent. Yes, we're going to use that ability. Let's bring back Narcobeaver. Let's bring back a Prized Amalgam. Now, we did end up hitting 2 Gravecrawlers out of our graveyard. The only downside is that we actually hit no Vengevines, unfortunately, off of that Glimpse the Unthinkable. So we still got some good stuff. We got at least a pretty good board state developed. We are looking at Tron coming down, so maybe they get down Karn, they go for exiling one of our lands. Hopefully we can put some pretty good pressure on our opponent between Narcomoeba and Prize and Amalgam. And depending on what they get down, we might end up going for another Glimpse the Unthinkable, just to kind of kickstart that graveyard again. Opponent's going to go for Planar Bridge. All right, so we got a fun version of Tron. We draw into another Gravecrawler. So we are in this weird spot. Let's go and swing in for 4, because there's no way we can cast stuff out of the graveyard, or at least get a Vengevine going. Let's go and swing in for 4, knock them down to 16. And then, let's go and go for another Glimpse the Unthinkable, because we've got double Gravecrawlers in the hand, and we really want to just get some good Vengevines going. We could go for Life from the Loam. If we had Hedron Crab on the battlefield, I would be tempted to go for Life from the Loam. But, oh, there we go. 2 Vengevines, and that's going to put us on 2 Gravecrawlers for next turn. So, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. I was hoping that we would run into another Life from the Loam, and that would allow us to dredge just a little bit more. But 2 Vengevines, that's going to be 8. That's going to be 9 with Narcomoeba, and that's going to be 12 with Prized Amalgam. So now let's see what this Planar Bridge is going to get down. I've never, and see, so just for full disclosure, I am recording in the, I'm recording in the tournament practice room, and one of the main reasons for that is you do catch tier 1 decks, but there's other times where you get to play against stuff like this that, to me, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy that, and we're getting hit with them. Yeah, well, let's just go ahead and play this one out. But yeah, I like playing fun Magic sometimes, and especially playing, if you don't know, I have a Commander channel, so I like to have fun playing Commander, and getting to play against Planar Bridge Tron was really interesting. I don't think we're going to make it on this one, so we're just going to go ahead and let our opponent play this one out. Good thing is they did not cast... I'm still just in shock that this happened. That's pretty cool. All right, so they're going to swing our Prized Amalgam and Narcomoebas into Emrakul and then Thought-Knot Seer. We'll see how they decide to block. More than likely, both of those are going to end up in the graveyard. And they're going to go for that Matter Reshaper block to see if they can hit something off the top part of their library. Yeah, I should have known what Planar Bridge probably would have gone for. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things you can, they're going to grab Karn, they're going to grab Ugin. No, we're going to get some free spells going. Okay, so we can swing in. Basically, with Emrakul out there, she's going to block any sort of graveyard shenanigans that we go. Good game. Very nice. Let's go and send this one over to game 2. So we've got some stuff to stop this. Let's go over to sideboarding. Yeah, this is what makes modern fun sometimes. Let's go and bring in 3 Assassins Trophy, because that way we can at least target Planar Bridge and target their lands, a bunch of different things like that. I love bringing in Trick Bind against Tron. It hits their expedition maps and hits certain activated abilities. So let's go ahead and get down Trick Bind too. Stubborn Denial, I guess, could work, and actually Pithing Needle is going to work out wonderful against Relic of Progenitus and Pithing on Planar Bridge. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 cards that we need to cut. Let's go and back off Breaking and Entering. Let's back off 1 Gurmag Angler. Let's back off the 4 Creeping Chills. And that's going to leave 2 cards that we need to cut out of the library. Just to save us, you know, typically you want to keep the potency of this deck really online, and that includes keeping 4 Glimpsing Unthinkables and at least about 2 Breaking and Enterings. I'd like to hold on to Collective Brutality, but I think in this particular matchup, we're going to go and cut the Collective Brutalities and just keep our fingers crossed that we don't end up with a ton of Vengevines in our opening hand. But this is what we're going to bring in. Assassin's Trophy is going to allow us to take care of yeah, Planar Bridge, man. I'm still in shock that that happened. Anyway, I'll see you in game 2. Okay, now as far as our opening hand goes, we've got Hedron Crab with a ton of fetch lands, and we also have a zombie in our hand. We don't have any sort of hate against Planar Bridge, but typically if you've got a lot of fetch lands and you've got Hedron Crab, this is definitely a keepable hand. So yeah, we're going to go and keep on this one. One of the main things that you're looking for in an opening hand with this Sultai Vengevine is just something that gets your graveyard going as quickly as possible, and Hedron Crab certainly does that. So let's go and go for Marsh Flats. Let's go and grab a black-blue sword. So let's go and shock in a Watery Grave. Then we'll be able to get down Hedron Crab this turn, shock in 2. Let's get down Hedron Crab. There we go. Mr. Krabby Patties, and if the coast is clear, we will be swinging in with Hedron Crab to kind of deal some damage to our opponent. Hedron Crab is a 0-2, but when I play Hedron Crab, I always like to let him swing in because he gets kind of restless sometimes just sitting there milling our library out. So hopefully we can outgrind our opponent with Hedron Crab. Let's go and go for Catacombs. Let's target ourselves, and in response to this Hedron Crab trigger, we're going to activate Catacombs because we don't want one of those cards to be the land that we need to search. So, and since we do have a green-black in our hand, let's go and grab another Watery Grave. I have that come into play tap, not going to pay 2. It's going to send 6 cards into our graveyard. And let's just see if we can't kick. Oh, there we go. That looks really good. We got Bloodghast, Narcomoeba, double Narcomoebas. We'll take that. I'd like to see a Prized Amalgam in there, but hitting a Vengevine and a Bloodghast is exactly what we want to see. Yes, we're going to use that ability. And then anything else? No, let's go and kick it over to our opponent. So, coast is clear. We're going to swing in with Hedron Crab, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, one of the things about this deck is that the creature base, you know, at its core, you want to have 4 Vengevines, you want to have Bloodghast, you want to have Narcomoeba, you want to have some sort of, you know, graveyard flowing. One thing that I have tried out on this deck that's actually a lot of fun to play is Lotus Cobra. Lotus Cobra, there's a lot of land drops to be made in this deck, and it really works well with Hedron Crab too, and you can end up with some really explosive mana. So, you know, as far as the core of the deck goes, you want to leave in Hedron Crab and Vengevines and stuff, but other than that, it's pretty open for whatever you want to do. All right, so let's go and put... Sorry, my mouse went to fast speed. Let's go put the Bloodghast trigger on the stack first. Let's go for Hedron Crab targeting ourselves. Let's go and crack Catacombs in response to that. Let's go and grab Overgrown Tomb. I think we will go and shock this one in, just because we do have double Prized Amalgams in our graveyard. Let's go for the Hedron Crab trigger targeting ourselves. It's going to be Life from the Loam, Pithing Needle. We're not going to go for Bloodghast just yet, just in case we hit a Prized Amalgam off this last one. We can still bring back the same Bloodghast. So yes, we're going to do it on this one. It's just basically a sequencing part on your part. Okay, so we got Bloodghast back. Let's go and go for Prized Amalgam. We're going to get him down. Beautiful little zombie over there. And let's go and swing in with the entire crew. That's going to be double Narcomoebas and Hedron Crab swinging in for 0, putting our opponent down to 18. Now, one thing that I did kind of play around in this deck with was something called Grave Strength. It's a card from Khans of Tarkir. And so basically what it does is I think it... Oh, we got Planar Bridge coming down. Oh, no. All right, so we need... Hopefully, let's see if we can't top deck a Pithing Needle or Assassin's Trophy. This is, and the only other thing is that we can hope that they don't have the land drop to make, and we're not going to dredge because we need to find an answer for Planar Bridge. Trick Bind, there we go. That is a straight up answer. Okay, let's go and go for Marsh Flats. Let's get some more stuff going. Let's go and crack Marsh Flats, and we're actually going to grab our last searchable land out of here, and that's going to be a basic swamp. So let's get the swamp down. That's going to be 3 more targeting us. That's going to be 6 cards into the graveyard. Now, unfortunately, we did have to cut a lot of our creeping chills out of this deck, so you can see how potent it would be with simply just a board state like this. But unfortunately, when you're fighting a lot of hate, you got to do what you got to do. All right, so let's go and swing at the entire crew. But yeah, with Grave Strength, I think it puts like the top 5 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then you get to put +1 counters onto target creature equal to the number of cards in your graveyard, the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So swinging with Hedron Crab in a deck like this that has Grave Strength actually works out pretty well, because you can make Hedron Crab. There's a couple times where Hedron Crab was like a 7/8 or something like that. All right, so it's going to go for Trick Bind. We're going to just borrow a little bit of time on this. Not a whole lot, but at least we're going to stop the onslaught of Planium Bridge, and then we'll keep our fingers crossed that we draw into something else. I think we're just on borrowed time at this point right now, though, unfortunately. And man, I love Trick Bind. It's one of the really underplayed card in Modern, to be perfectly honest. Not going to Dredge Life from the Loam, and we hit Catacombs, which is, well, we can actually, there's no Grave Crawlers, but we can actually go Prized Amalgam. There's no way that we can search up a land. Let's do this. Let's go and shock in Overgrown Tomb. That's going to be Hedron Crab targeting ourselves. At this point right now, we just need to keep our fingers crossed for just a single Grave Crawler off this Hedron Crab. That way we can bring these... oh, that's a bummer. Unfortunately, we can't get that going. Okay, so let's go and swing it with the entire crew. That's going to be 5. That's going to be 7. That's going to put them down to 3. And what we're going to do on this one, we're actually going to Dredge Life from the Loam next turn. And maybe we get lucky with double Vengevines, because all we need to do is hit a Gravecrawler and cast Prized Amalgam. If we cast it right now, it's not going to help us out if we, dredge into like 1 Gravecrawler. We have to get lucky and hit 2 of them. So we're going to hold on to it, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent and hope, fingers crossed, that we survive this Planar Bridge activation for 1 more turn. We did knock him down to 4, though. Okay, they're gonna go for Planar Bridge. Let's see what we can do to survive this this activation. Yep, there we go. And let's see what they. Oh, that's a bummer. Okay, so they're gonna be able to go for Emrakul, take an extra turn, swing in for 15 in the air. Good game to our opponent. Really enjoyed it. It's always fun getting to play against fun stuff like this. We're gonna go and scoop it up, because that Emrakul, they get to take an extra turn, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we do take that game if we get lucky off that Hedron Crab trigger and hit a Gravecrawler. And let's see where Gravecrawler was hanging out. We do have him in here somewhere. Another Vent. There we go. He's about 4 or 5 away. So, but that's how Magic goes sometimes, If you don't hit the card, you don't hit the card. So, but just to kind of explain what the board state was, if we were able to dredge into a Gravecrawler at that point, we would have been able to bring back the Vengevines once we cast Prized Amalgam, and then we cast Gravecrawler out of the graveyard. So, anyway, I'll see you in the next game. Bye. Welcome to Sultai Vengevine. As far as opening hand goes, yeah, this looks good. Love it. We're going to keep on this one. The only thing that would make this better is if we were on the play, but we are kind of in a little bit of weird position in that we need to search up Catacombs, grab a blue source to get on Hedron Crab, but hopefully, maybe we get really lucky and we hit a fetch land off the top. All right, Inquisition of Kozilek. Let's see what our opponent wants to target. Probably the best thing that they could grab out of this pile would definitely be Hedron Crab. We'll see if they have a lot of respect for Hedron Crab or not. If they wanted to go for Collective Brutality, they certainly could. That would allow us to get Vengevine back into the graveyard, and then once we get some good milling going with Gravecrawler, we can cast it and bring back Vengevine so we can show them off to our opponent. Hey, check out this cool dude, Vengevine. He's in my class. All right, let's see what our opponent decides to take, and then we'll get our turn going. Okay, they end up taking Collective Brutality, which that might mean that they have some sort of answer for Hedron Crab, but either way, we're still going to slam it down. Ooh. Double Vengevine is exactly what we don't want to see. Let's go and crack Catacombs. Let's go and get down Shock and Water Grave. We're going to pay 2 life, and let's go and get down Hedron Crab. Maybe our opponent's on Path to Exile, and allow us to get another land on the battlefield, but we are actually running pretty light on lands in here. One of the big things about this deck is that, we want to get down as, it kind of tops out at about 5 mana. That's what it's going for. One of the bigger spells that we do have is Gurmag Angler, and then even then we're just using that for Delve. And so it's really not that big of a deck to where I think we only have 5 searchable sources and then a couple different enter the battlefield cards. The Dark Slick Shores, things like that. Let's go and get down Urborg. Let's go and send this Hedron Crab trigger over to us, and maybe we get lucky and hit a life from the loam. Creeping Chill. Okay, that's good. We'll take that. And it's going to put them down to 16, us up to 20. And at this point right now, we have one more Collective Brutality. That's another way we can discard these Vengevines out of our hand. If we want to start swinging in our opponent, we can go double Gravecrawler. Yeah, let's go and do that. We need to get some sort of clock going, especially with Dark Confidant on the battlefield. Normally, you want to hold on to your Gravecrawlers when you're playing this deck, but with us kind of having to get off to a little bit of a clunky start with our mana base and drawing into 2 Vengevines, it's not exactly what we want to go for. Now, one of the good things about this deck is that, let's say that our opponent didn't have down Dark Confidant, you can definitely swing in with Hedron Crab. You need to let him swing in a couple times. He gets a little restless sometimes, and also it's kind of a way to make sure that Hedron Crab's going to treat you good on some of the milling out of your graveyard. So if you ever have the coast is clear with Hedron Crab, swing in, and unless that's not your play style, then don't do it. Your opponent might have something to do with Hedron Crab, but I always like to let him swing in just for a little bit because it gets those legs limber. And you know, there's one time I was playing this deck and it was like turn 2, we had like double Hedron Crab, and I hit like 2 Vengevines and 3 Creeping Chills off of a fetch land, and it was just, I was like, thank you, Hedron Crab, that's so nice. Alright, so our opponent did flip a Tide Hollow Sculler off of Dark Confidant, putting them down to 14, so let's see what they decide to go for. That's going to be a non-land card from that, so they can basically exile either Vengevine or Creeping Chill. Let's see what they decide to go for. Spectral Procession. Okay, it looks like we're playing against some sort of black-white tokens build with Dark Confidant at the helm. We're going to let them swing in for 2. And we will not be trading on Dark Confidant because they're already at 13 now. It's really not that crazy that they might... Narcomoeba. They could lose to their own Dark Confidant, which I think I kind of like going for that. Let's go and swing in with 1 Gravecrawler. Yeah, because well, actually they block with both spirit tokens. Yeah, we'll go and swing in with double Gravecrawlers. And we'll go and let Hedron Crab swing it. No, because then they can block 2. All right, we're going to swing with 2 Gravecrawlers, and then hopefully maybe we can get in for either 4. Yeah, we do. Get them down to 9. Then we'll kind of put the game in Dark Confidant's hand if we can get a little bit lucky. And they draw into another Dark Confidant. Hopefully they get it down and start whittling away at their life total. I'm not entirely sure what black-white tokens would have in the way of life gain. They might have something in the sideboard, but at least at this point right now, the game plan is just to let Dark Confidant kind of stick it on the battlefield. And, you know, maybe we draw into another fetch land, we can get 6 cards into the graveyard with Hedron Crab, and maybe we hit a Creeping Chill, and that'll be enough for us to kind of close it out. So this is a very clunky start to the game, though, I will say that, because most of the time you end up some pretty good explosive turn 1s, turn 2s to really kind of set the tone for your opponent. But I'm just going to go for Tide Hollow. Let's see if they decide to take out on this one. Okay, they end up taking Vengevine, which we're pretty far away from casting it, so it's not too bad. Okay, so we got 1 spirit token swinging in for 1. That's going to put us down to 17. At this rate, we're just going to sit back with our Gravecrawlers and stare at Dark Confidant. Let's go and get down to Narcomoeba. They're going to go for Path to Exile. It's going to allow us to get a black source. Yeah, we'll go and go for that. We're going to grab a swamp, get that down to enter the battlefield. Let's go and get down to Narcomoeba. That way we can stop some of these spirit tokens. Or at this point right now, what we'll probably do with Narcomoeba is basically just, you know, if they swing out with all the spirit tokens, then we'll definitely swing in the air. And once again, we're going to leave that Dark Confidant on the battlefield, either to force our opponent, if they have some sort of removal, to use it on their own Dark Confidant. Ooh, a Johnny. They will gain 2 life off of that Ajani, but man, that feels good whenever they hit... It's something that costs 4 converted mana cost. Yeah, but I'm definitely not above going for a Dark Confidant win. Now, they can go for the +1, gain 2 life, -1, put a +1 counter on each creature you control. They gain Vigilance until end of turn. That would definitely accelerate the damage clock that's going to be going for us, but we'll just need to keep our fingers crossed that maybe we draw into a land and we can straight up just hard cast Creeping Chill, and then that'll allow us to do something with this. All right, so opponent's going to be swinging in with, looks like 2 spirit tokens. And like I said, we're just going to go and let this come across because we want to leave out Narcomoeba on this. And let's see, draw into Catacombs. All right, that is exactly what we needed to see. Let's go and get down Catacombs, and let's just go and go for Creeping Chill, targeting our opponent. Okay, that's going to put them down to 1, and then we're going to leave this game in Dark Confidant's hand. I'm not going to, yeah, because if we swing in, they block with Dark Confidant. Not a huge fan of that. So, we'll leave it up to Dark Confidant. Come on, buddy. Oh. It's a fetid Heath. Oh, that's a bummer. Okay, let's see what they get down for the turn. And they actually will, instead of going for the life gain off of a Johnny, they're actually going to put the +1 counters onto their spirit token. That's going to be 2, 4, 6. That's going to be 9. And that's going to be 12. Yeah, we're going to go let this come across. That's fine. It puts us into the Dark Confidant range for next turn. Or if we draw into another Creeping Chill, because I think that's going to be 1, 2. Yeah, that'll at least be another out for us with Creeping Chill. Draw into Breaking and Entering. Yeah, let's go and go for Breaking. That's going to be our best option for hitting another Creeping Chill. So let's go and go for that. Oh, we don't. Okay, that's a bummer. Whiff on that. We can bring out Gravecrawler, which will bring another Prized Amalgam onto the battlefield. Yeah, I guess we'll just go and do that. Once this enters the battlefield, we'll be able to bring back Prized Amalgam, and then we'll just go and pass the turn to our opponent. We'll see. They do have 5 cards in the hand, so we'll see if they do have some sort of removal spell for Dark Confidant, and if not, we'll just go and pass the turn back over to our opponent. Yeah, and like I said, we could start swinging in, but we simply just don't want to lose out on the opportunity of going for a Dark Confidant win. I think that sounds that sounds pretty fun. Oh, bummer. So they got Fatal Push. Okay. I was expecting them to have some sort of Fatal Push or some sort of answer, but that's a bummer. We got really lucky hitting the Johnny Goldmane. So we've got 6 in the air. That's going to be lethal. We can block with 1 Narcomoeba, but we're kind of in this position to where once we get on the back end, let's say they swing in with all of the tokens, we can block with Narcomoeba on one of the tokens. Well, not when they make it a 3/3. That'll be a good game to our opponent. Maybe we could have been a little bit more aggressive, but if we're playing to our outs during that game, that's pretty much going for Dark Confidant on that one. So, all right, let's go and send this one over to game 2. As far as sideboarding goes, we could bring in Leyline of the Void to catch Lingering Souls, but I think at this point right now, I've kind of like what we've got going on. We could bring in Stubborn Denial, but there's sometimes to where if you're worried about running into Rest in Peace, yeah, we should probably go and bring in Assassin's Trophy. That'd be something that we need to watch out for. Let's go and back off 1 Breaking and Entering, back off a couple Creeping Chills. There we go. I like that. That way it gives us some sort of answer for Rest in Peace. Other than that, this is definitely one of those decks that you don't really want to tweak too much because if you dilute the ability to dump a ton of cards into your graveyard, then it just really kind of starts to suffer into kind of this mid-range deck. But I will see you in the next game. Welcome back to game 2. As far as our opening hand goes, we have Blooming Marsh, we have Marsh Flats, Assassin's Trophy. Yeah, I like this a lot. We'll keep on this one in a heartbeat. He'll be able to get down Blooming Marsh. If we had a blue source, we would lead off with a blue source with the anticipation of maybe, if we draw into Hedron Crab, going for that. But since we have double Glimpse the Unthinkable, definitely like going for that. So let's go and get our graveyard popped up, and then we'll see if our opponent wants to hold on to 7. There we go. They're going to hold at 7. Yeah, let's go and lead off with I guess we're not taking a ton of damage. We'll lead off with Marsh Flats, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, one of the things with this deck is, as far as an opening hand, what are you looking for that's going to be a keepable hand? If you have some sort of graveyard accelerant, that's going to be Glimpse the Unthinkable, Hedron Crab, and then just 1 Gravecrawler, because we can cast Gravecrawler out of the graveyard, and so that's going to turn on the Vengevine. So as long as you have at least 1 Gravecrawler or 1 zombie in the hand, and a couple different graveyard accelerants, you're in a really good position to get your graveyard going. So let's go and crack Marsh Flats. Let's go and grab a black-blue source. There we go. Get down Watery Grave. Not going to pay 2 life on this one. We're not playing any sort of Death Shadow deck or anything. Ooh, Hedron Crab. Okay. Let's do that. Let's still go and go for Glimpse the Unthinkable. That's going to be the quickest way to get card. I'd hate to just get down 3 with Hedron Crab and our opponent go for Fatal Push. So let's go for Glimpse. Maybe we get lucky and hit Life from the Loam. Well, hit Narcomoeba and Prized Amalgam. That's not bad. And then always yes to Creeping Chill. Let's go and put Narcomoeba onto the battlefield. Yes, we're going to use that ability, and then we'll be able to bring back Prized Amalgam. So turn 2 with 4 powers. Yeah, not too bad. And we do have Gravecrawler out of the graveyard. So we do have 1 Vengevine. Like I said, the only downside is that we are missing another way to kind of dredge some stuff out of the graveyard. But with Hedron Crab, let's say that we top deck a fetch land. We can play Hedron Crab. That's going to be the 1 creature for the turn. Get down the fetch land. That's going to be a trigger. Crack in response to that trigger. Get some more cards and then cast Gravecrawler. We have ourselves set up for a pretty good. Well, actually, if we just draw to hit Path to Exile, let's go and grab a swamp. Have that enter the battlefield, and that'll really help us get down Hedron Crab and go for a couple other things. Yes, we're going to use that ability. And like I mentioned now, we can actually go for Glimpse the Unthinkable if we hit a fetch land and then go for 2 1-drop creatures. So we're in a pretty good position. Now, Nile Spellbomb. What we can do, if we want to rebuild a Nile Spellbomb, if we want to play around it, then we draw into Vengevine. Yeah, let's go ahead and go for Assassin's Trophy on Spellbomb. I like that. Because we have Collective Brutality, we can still rebuild with Collective Brutality. So let's go and go for Assassin's Trophy. We need to go and force the crack. The only thing that we're really missing out at this point right now is just 1 Vengevine. And we already got Bloodghast on the battlefield. We already have Narcomoeba. And since we're doing this main phase, we don't have to worry about, our opponent going for some sort of, flashing a creature or something, and one of these creatures go into the graveyard for them to exile. So we're going to force them to use the Nile Spellbomb, and then we'll get some good stuff going. We might even go ahead and get down Hedron Crab. That way we can set up as much of an explosive turn as possible. Okay, and the good thing about them going for that crack in response to Assassin's Trophy is that they're not going to get a land, so we're pretty good on that. Let's go and swing it for 3, knock them down to 14, and let's go and get down Hedron Crab. Well, if we're going to set up a Vengevine for next turn, yeah, let's just hold on to Hedron Crab, because that way, I was kind of talking about us getting down Hedron Crab and catching Gravecrawler, but once they activated Spellbomb, then that get rid of ours. Oh, they got another one. Okay, all right. We do have Pithing Needle in the sideboard. That's one way that we can get around this. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and shock in Overgrown Tomb and just go straight up, just hardcast Vengevine. Let's go. It's going to be 7 coming across, and that's going to be at least a 2-turn clock on our opponent. Let's go and swing across, knock them down to 7, and then we'll go and pass the turn. So they need to get down some sort of token board state to protect themselves. At least we're going to have some good stuff. And then even then, we have Collective Brutality, so we can go Collective Brutality. All right, opponent's going to scoop it up. That's enough. I'll take it. Let's go ahead and cut the, now that we know what to expect, let's go ahead and cut the Assassin's Trophy and bring in Pithing Needle. I really like Pithing Needle in this deck because, Assassin's Trophy is nice, but with Pithing Needle, we can get that down on turn 1 and just kind of set it and forget it and not have to worry about it, and it allows them not to go for those activations. Same thing with Relic of Progenitus. So let's go and leave it like this and send this one over to Game 3. Welcome to Game 3. As far as opening hand goes, we have no Pithing Needle, but we've got Hedron Crab. We have Dark Slick Shores into Polluted Delta. Oh yeah, this is good. Now, what we need to do is we'll probably set it up to where we just get down Dark Slick Shores, get down Hedron Crab next turn, make the Polluted Delta. Yeah, because if we just lead off with Hedron Crab, that's not going to be good. So let's just go and keep on this one, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that they don't have any sort of hand disruption. Maybe they kind of mulliganed pretty aggressively to get some sort of, Nile Spellbomb or something. All right, Shambling Vent, turn 1. Yes, that makes Hedron Crab very happy. Now, here's the kicker. Do we want to... I figure if they had hand disruption, they probably would have gone for it. And I don't want to lose out on Hedron Crab. Yeah, let's just get down Dark Slick Shores, and then we're just going to go and pass the turn. Because that puts us in a position to where we get down Hedron Crab, that's 6 cards into the graveyard. If we get lucky with a couple of Vengevines, then we can cast Gravecrawler, and we end up with a really quick start. So I feel like it's okay. Even if they get rid of Hedron Crab, we still have Glimpse the Unthinkable to kind of rebuild our graveyard. So, all right, Tide Hollow, that's perfectly fine. We'll have, it's kind of like a pick your poison on which one they want to take out of our hand with Tide Hollow. Okay, opponent's going to take Glimpse the Unthinkable, which is absolutely perfect. That is the... I'm thrilled with that choice. Once we get out, they probably do have an answer for Hedron Crab, but at least we're going to end up with some really good stuff. Ooh, we're drawn to Collective Brutality, so we can actually get it back. Let's go and lead off with Hedron Crab. Let's go Polluted Delta. And one of the main things with Polluted Delta is once that trigger happens, we target ourselves. You need to crack or fetch land in response to that trigger. Mainly, you just want to search the land up that you need. So let's go and grab Overgrown Tomb. Let's go and shock this one in. That'll be another Hedron Crab trigger. And that'll be 6 cards into the graveyard. Come on, Vengevine. Let's go. Let's go, Vengevine. Let's go, buddy. All right, we hit at least one Vengevine. That is great. And then Stitcher Supplier. Okay, that's good. Let's go and go for Gravecrawler. That's going to be able to bring back Vengevine. Now, if Hedron Crab sticks around on the battlefield, let's say our opponent has Path to Exile or something like that, Fatal Push, maybe they end up going for Vengevine. That puts us in a position to where we can go for Life from the Loam and then really kind of keep this graveyard flowing. So let's go and swing in with Vengevine. Oh yeah, swinging it for 4, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. So we do have Collective Brutality in our hand that will allow us to go for. Let's say that we draw into something, another Vengevine. We can at least dump it with Collective Brutality, and then dump anything else we need to in the graveyard. The only downside is if we can maybe hit into a Pithing Needle to protect ourselves from Nile Spellbomb, that'd be great. But at least at this point right now, we have Vengevine, we have a Gravecrawler on the battlefield, so at least kind of put some pretty good pressure on our opponent. Feeling aggressive, Dark Confidant, I like it. Okay, so on this one, what we'll probably end up doing is going for Collective Brutality for sure on Dark Confidant, because this is going to allow us to swing in with Vengevine and Gravecrawler and potentially get back Glimpse the Unthinkable. And we don't really want them to draw into some sort of graveyard answer or something to stop us, so that's not exactly what we want to do. And then we draw into Creeping Chill. So we get down Watery Grave. That's going to be 3 off Hedron Crab. We go for Collective Brutality, discarding Blooming Marsh. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go ahead and go for Collective Brutality, and we'll go ahead and get rid of Watery Grave out of our hand. Actually, if we want to go 3, we can just simply Life from the Loam next turn. Get in that little extra 2. Yeah, I think I like it. Let's go with 3 modes. All right, so we're going to choose our opponent. We're going to target an instant or sorcery. We're going to go Dark Confidant, and then we're going to have them lose 2 life, and we gain 2 life. So let's go black. Let's go Life from the Loam. We'll go Creeping Chill. There we go. Okay. We could have held on to Creeping Chill, but I want to get down a land drop with Hedron Crab, just kind of get this going. That way, and especially if we draw into like something like a top deck Vengevine or something, that way we can at least kind of cast them and get that going right off the top. All right, so opponent's going to go for Path to Exile in response to Hedron Crab. Yeah, we should have gotten the land drop down first. I almost thought about backing out of Collective Brutality and getting that down first, but unfortunately there's a little bit of a misplay on my part. Yes, we're definitely going to go ahead and use that ability. Let's go and grab our Swamp, have that enter the battlefield. They did at least kind of force him to get rid of Path to Exile, and let's go ahead and get rid of... So get rid of Lingering Souls. That's going to be 2 out of the graveyard. And we're looking at Spectral Procession. Yeah, let's go for Spectral Procession, because that's going to be straight up 3 tokens, and they go for Lingering Souls to get 2 more. This way it forces them to get down 2. We can really kind of whittle away with the least amount of tokens on the battlefield. So we're going to go and target Spectral Procession. Let's go and get Lingering Souls popped up. Let's go and get down... Let's go ahead and get down Blooming Marsh. It's going to come into play tap. Let's go and swing in with Gravecrawler and Vengevine. And then next turn, that will allow us to go for Glimpse the Unthinkable if they give it, or at least they block with Tideholder, but it looks like they're not going to go for that. So it's going to put them down to 8, and we do know the 1 card in their hand is a Lingering Soul. So let's see what they decide to roll out for the turn. We do have at least Life from the Loam. That's something that we can dredge to kind of get some of this going, and especially if we get lucky and maybe dredge into another zombie or something like that. And let's go and dredge Life from the Loam, Bloodghast, and then Hedron Crab, and they are sitting at 8, so once we do make this lane drop, that will bring back Bloodghast and really accelerate this clock that we're putting on our opponent. Let's go for Pluto Delta and Marsh Flats. And we're also leaving 1 land in the graveyard, just in case we do draw into Gurmag Angler. 2 lands at this point right now allows us to get some stuff done. Let's go for Bloodghast. And we're not going to crack this Pluto Delta because we can at least bring back Bloodghast on the back end. So let's go and swing in for 8. And this will be lethal, so we're going to have to see some blocks from our opponent. Okay, so that will be 4. It's going to put them down to 4. And then anything else, no, we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. So at this point right now, we're basically just kind of sitting on... and now that I think about it, we probably should have held on to Creeping Chill. I shouldn't have discarded that early in the game. That's a little bit of a... just kind of a sequencing error on my part, because that would have put us in a position now to where we could at least just go for Creeping Chill and make it really hard for our opponent to, let's say that they're trying to play to their outs and they get their life total down really low. That would give us the opportunity of swinging in and then dealing a little bit of extra damage to them. But at least at this point right now, we're just basically keep digging for any sort of graveyard threat that we can get down. And they do end up casting Lingering Souls out of the graveyard with 2 cards left in their hand. All right, let's go and go for the dredge off of Life from the Loam, double Gravecrawler. The good thing about double Gravecrawler is that, let's say that they block with the entire board state, we can still at least cast double Gravecrawlers out of the graveyard to bring back Vengevine. Let's go and swing in for 8. Okay, that's going to get them down to 2. And then anything else? Let's go and get the land drop down. Let's put down Watery Grave. Not going to pay 2 live. And then we're going to go for Life from the Loam. Because at this point right now, we're just trying to hit a Creeping Chill. And we're just going to click OK. I'll bring back Marsh Flats, why not? Because we can try to top deck another creature to go with Gravecrawler. But at this point right now, looking at the top 3 cards of our library with the Dredge from Life from the Loam is going to give us a better opportunity to go for a Creeping Chill. Okay, but it's going to get down to Johnny. That's going to be +1. They're going to be able to gain 2 life. We might see if they end up going for the -1 to put some counters on some of their creatures. And then, now we can Dredge Life from the Loam, or if we want to, maybe kind of see if we can't draw into Glimpse the Unthinkable. That'd be a little bit of a riskier play, or maybe we hit some sort of creature, some sort of zombie that's going to allow us to start really casting some of these grave crawlers. All right, Poto's going to simply just scoop it up. I will take it. Let's see what's Pithing Needle, that we're able to get that down and Glimpse the Unthinkable. So we had a couple different options. This is definitely one of those games where, let's say that they end up going for the +1 off of a Johnny, they gain 2 life. That puts them up to 4. But once we swing in with Vengevine, sorry, I had a cough for a second. Once we swing in with Vengevine, that's going to at least give us back Tide Hollow, and that's going to allow us to go for Glimpse the Unthinkable and hopefully hit another Creeping Chill. So either way, it was definitely going to be a really big uphill battle for our opponent. So close it out. I will see you in the next game. Bye. Welcome to Sultai Vengevine. As far as your opening hand goes, yes, I love this. This is turn 1 Hedron Crab into turn 2 fetch land into breaking and entering. Yes, I like it. It's going to lead off with Catacomb. See if our opponent is going to mulligan past 6 or not. And we'll be able to get this going. Yeah, this is pretty much everything you want to see in an opening hand. Let's go and get down Catacombs. Let's go and go for that black-blue source. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, they don't have any sort of turn 1 removal for Hedron Crab. Get down to Hedron Crab, and we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. But yes, welcome to some Sultai Vengevine. Hopefully we can get some really good stuff going for you. Once we do end up going for breaking and entering, we do have Gurmag Angler. So let's say that we do hit a Vengevine and at least a Gravecrawler out of the graveyard. Oh yeah, Breeding Pool into play tapped. Exactly what we want to see. Let's go and go Marsh Flats. Hedron Crab trigger targeting us. Let's go and crack the Marsh Flats in response to that Hedron Crab trigger because we don't want to mill the land that we're searching up. Let's go and shock in 2 life. Yes. It's going to get another Hedron Crab trigger over at us. That's going to be Vengevine. Oh, there we go. Hit a Vengevine, and then we hit a Creeping Chill. Okay, I like that. Yes, we're definitely going to use that ability. Now, at this point right now, unfortunately, we can't get down any sort of creatures. So let's just go and go for breaking. And put the top 8 cards of our library into our graveyard. And we hit another Creeping Chill, and then another Vengevine. Yes, we're going to use that ability. It's going to put them down to 14. We go to 20. And then since the coast is clear for Hedron Crab, we're going to go ahead and swing in. There we go. Play a little bit of mind games with our opponent. I always like to swing in with Hedron Crab if the coast is clear, so you should definitely do that too. He gets a lot of pent-up anger sometimes, simply just milling. So now as far as next turn goes, we're looking at Gurmag Angler and Gravecrawler. That's going to be double Vengevines out of the graveyard, and then we draw into another Vengevine. So let's go and go for Watery Grave. Let's go and shock this one in just in case we need that mana. Let's go for another Hedron Crab trigger. That's going to be, that's 3 Vengevines right there. Let's go ahead and go for Gurmag Angler. Yeah, I like this. Let's go for Gurmag Angler. Let's go and exile Glimpse. And basically, we have really no way to recur anything out of the graveyard. So, pretty much just go and exile. Just want to keep Tarmogoyf stuff down as low as possible. Let's go and go for Gravecrawler. That's going to bring back triple Vengevines. Oh. Yes, and that's going to be, they're going to have some sort of lightning bolt or some sort of answer to stop these triple Vengevines. We do get extremely lucky with Creeping Chills and Vengevines, and this is exactly what you want to see. Let's go ahead and go Hedron Crab. No Hedron Crab this turn. We'll swing in with triple Vengevines and see if our opponent has any sort of lightning bolt answer, or they're simply just going to wait till game 2 to bring in some sideboard hate. So all right, so we look like we're playing against a teamer, probably good stuff deck. Let's go and bring in Assassin's Trophy. That way, if they do have something like, Relic Progenitus, something like that, we can at least target that. Do we want to bring in Pithing Needle? If we are playing against some sort of control deck, I kind of like bringing in a couple Stubborn Denials. Let's go and back off Collective Brutality, and let's go and back off a couple Creeping Chills. Creeping Chill's nice, but typically we can get it done with a ton of creatures. So, and it's going to back off one breaking and entering since we are looking at some sort of, counter magic from our opponent. So, I'm going to be cutting breaking and entering, bringing in 3 Assassin's Trophies and 2 Stubborn Denials, and I will see you in Game 2. Welcome to Game 2, and as far as our opening hand goes, we've got Glimpse and breaking and entering and 3 lands. This is, man, I don't think this, because we go Glimpse into some sort of counter spell. That's not going to be good. Yeah, I guess we'll keep. We're on the draw, but this is definitely right on the cut. The only downside about this deck is it does not really mulligan that well. And so if you've got at least a keepable opening hand that's like semi-keepable, and if we just took a quick game 1, we're going to keep on this one, but we're not super thrilled about this, to be perfectly honest. So hopefully we get lucky and top deck some good stuff. Prized Amalgam, okay. Let's go and get down Dark Slick Shores. And at this point right now, you always want to lead off with Dark Slick Shores, especially if you are not Dark Slick Shores in particular, but something like Blooming Marsh or a black-blue source that you don't have to fetch, because let's say that we do draw into Hedron Crab. That's going to allow us to get down Hedron Crab and then go for Polluted Delta. So that's kind of one of those sequencing lines of play you want to go for. Make sure kind of set it up to where if you can hit it, you hit it. Now with our opponent putting Breeding Pool into play tapped, we're going to straight up just go for a Blooming Marsh and then Glimpse the Unthinkable. If we are playing against some sort of team or tempo deck, we do want to at least kind of protect our life total just a little bit. And so by getting down Blooming Marsh, we're going to be able to reduce some of the damage that might happen. All right, so we end up hitting all of our Glimpse the Unthinkables instead of Vengevines. Let's go and go for Creeping Chill. That's going to put us at 23 and then into 16, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Would have liked to see them be Vengevines, but that is how the graveyard decks go sometimes. So let's see. They're going to go for Lightning Bolt. It's going to put us down to 20. And that's one of the good things about Creeping Chill is that when you're playing against a tempo deck like this, there's a lot of shocking, there's a lot of fetching, being able to simply just gain, I don't know why they printed a Lightning Helix for Dredge, which is just, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I love it. Let's go and get down. I saw Creeping Chill get printed. I was like, man, what are y'all doing? I like it. They got 5 cards in the hand. Do we want to go for Breaking at this point right now? Yeah, let's go for that. I think we're okay with that. We're going to choose Breaking on us. Let's go blue and then black. Put the top 8 cards over into our graveyard. If they've got some counter magic, they've got it. All right, so we do hit a Vengevine off of that. Let's go and put Overgrown Tomb into play tapped. Not going to pay 2 life. And then once again, a top deck Hedron Crab is one of the best things we can do. So we're going to hold on to this fetch land as long as possible. And we still should have, because there's 5 fetchable sources in this deck. And so we have at least 1 swamp and then 1 more watery grave. So we're still online for getting down, double Hedron Crab triggers. We did hit 1 Vengevine, so that's going to be good. And our graveyard is stocked with zombies. So once we go for Stitcher Supplier, we'll probably end up casting a lot of these grave crawlers out of the graveyard, simply just to kind of build up a nice unexpected results. Okay, let's see. What do we got? Stomping Ground. All right, phew. This is, I was curious to see what we're playing against. I thought it was some sort of Teamer control deck, but Unexpected Teamer is, I don't know, it sounds pretty cool. We can do something with that. And then drawn to Bloodghast. Let's go for Stitcher Supplier. You're able to dump 3 more cards into our graveyard. And this is another great card for this deck is a Stitcher Supplier. Being able to dump cards with a zombie works out so well. Let's go and go for Polluted Delta. Yeah, we could play around in Anger of the Gods if we wanted to. I think we will. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just simply go for 2 Grave Crawlers. That's going to bring back Vengevine, and we'll go for 1 more Grave Crawler, because that way we at least have 1 Grave Crawler out of the graveyard to recast stuff. Actually, we'll do this. So we'll leave 1 Grave Crawler. Let's go and crack Polluted Delta. And do we need, yeah, we probably need another blue source. Let's go and go Water Grave. Let's go and shock this one in. And let's go and go for that last Grave Crawler. That way we can still at least cast Prized Amalgam, cast Grave Crawler out of the graveyard, and then still be able to bring back our Vengevine. So let's go and push in with Vengevine. What a very spooky board state. I love it. Happy late Halloween off of this. All right, so we're swinging it for 4. It's going to put them down to 11. And let's see if we can stop ourselves from getting hit by unexpected results. Oh, they do have Anger of the Gods. Oh, bummer. That card is so bad against this deck. I mean, it's so good against this deck. I hate that card. They are sitting at 11. Let's try to rebuild. We did top deck into Stitcher Supplier, which is actually pretty good. So let's go for Stitcher Supplier. Put the top 3 cards into our library. I was worried about that Anger of the Gods. And we don't hit another Vengevine. And I think at this point we just go Bloodghast. Maybe we get lucky. Yeah, because we need to maintain the Gravecrawler Prized Amalgam line of play. So let's go and go for Bloodghast. We'll get that down, and then we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. If we wanted to try and grind it out with some sort of life total, but I mean, if we're playing against Teamer, maybe they got Snapcaster, we're looking at Snapcaster Anger of the Gods, and we're just back in the same boat that we are. And, you know, a lot of this Vengevine deck is it's kind of like a one-punch graveyard deck sometimes. You know, you want to try to, have it be as impactful in the turn that you're doing a lot of your graveyard stuff as possible. So it's just kind of the way the deck is set up. Let's go and swing in with a Stitcher Supplier and Bloodghast. And that way, we'll at least get in for 1. And then once we get down their life total to 10 or less, we'll at least start having some haste options off of our creatures. Okay, they're going to block on Bloodghast. We're going to be able to get in with a Stitcher Supplier for 1, put them down to 10. Yeah, let's go for double Narcomoebas. Prized Amalgam is going to be a 3/3, but it's just going to sit there and, get eaten up by Sylvan. So, and then I still like I mentioned, I like holding on to Prized and Gravecrawler. So this will still be a pretty good board state for us to put in our swing in on our opponent, start putting some pressure on them. But yeah, that's pretty much what the deck wants to do. We did hit 1 Creeping Chill, I think. So if we had another Creeping Chill, that'll really help us kind of get some good stuff going. Now, with them getting down Tri-Belder and Sylvan, we at least do have some sort of threat in the air with Narcomoebas, and we can really start putting some, start chipping away at our opponent's life total. Hardcast Simian Spirit Guide time. I love it. It's my favorite time in Magic. Okay, so we draw into Assassin's Trophy. Let's go ahead and... We can Assassin's Trophy on Tri-Belder. That'll force the crack. Or if we actually want to force... Yeah, let's do that. Let's go for Assassin's Trophy on Simian Spirit Guide. But yeah, Hardcast Simian Spirit Guide is one of my favorite times in Magic. I love it. It makes me happy. Alright, so we're going to take care of Simian Spirit Guide. They do get another land on the battlefield out of this deal. Let's go and cross those 2 off. Do we want to get down the Prized Amalgam? Let's go and swing in for 5. Now, probably what we're going to see is Sylvan block on Bloodghast, Stitcher Supplier block on Tri-Belder, then crack a Tri-Belder on Stitcher Supplier. Well, actually, they'll let us get in for 1. I like that. It's going to put them down to 7. And then, yeah, we need to be aggressive. Let's go and shock this one in. Let's go just simply just hardcast Prized Amalgam. That way, we just really want to swarm the board at this point right now and try to make it as hard for our opponent to at least stabilize for another turn. Okay, they're going to go for Cremator. Enters the battlefield, discard a card at random. Okay, but it's going to scoop it out. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure what this was. So, enters the battlefield, discard a card at random. If you discard a creature card this way, deals damage equal to that card's power to target player or planeswalker. And they dealt 4 damage to us. So, this must be some sort of random Cremator deck with unexpected results, or maybe something like... I don't know, Emrakul or something, maybe. I don't know, either way, it's still a pretty cool deck by our opponent, but you can see we're able to put enough pressure on our opponent and get down a lot of these Graveyard Fiends right here. Pretty cool.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more awesome MTG content just like this. And make sure to tap the bell icon to be notified whenever a video is made live. If you want to keep watching content, here are 2 more videos for you. This video and many others are sponsored by MTGO Traders and Cape Fear Games. Buy and sell digital singles to build your online collection today with MTGO Traders, and get your paper singles, accessories, and much more from Cape Fear Games. Whatever your Magic needs, both places have you covered.